Church is 23 years old on this January 31st. That means that Craig and I are getting older, and we want to continue to minister to young people out there in the world because they need Jesus. And so we decided last year to hire another speaking pastor to help us to just create excitement and give Craig a break. So now he's dreaming about more things to do here at Grace Family Church with all the extra time. And we're just so honored and blessed to have Matt and Carrie Roden. We fell in love with them immediately. It was quite a big risk to hire someone from outside of our little comfort place here, but we could not be more blessed to have them. They are an amazing couple. Carrie, I know she doesn't like to be noticed, but she's a precious, precious pastor's wife. And we love Matt, and I'm excited for you to hear him today.
All right, guys. Well, I found out right before I came up here that I'm the second male to ever speak at this thing. And the first one was Dale Brooks. And that's a really hard show to follow, Dale Brooks, because if you've never heard Dale Brooks, he's like every episode of This Is Us, like in one person. And because you're going to start crying and you don't even know why. And I'm like, they're going to be incredibly disappointed today. I will tell you, I want to, again, my name is Matt Roden. I'm one of the pastors here at Grace, and I want to thank Misty Umholtz. Where's Misty at? Where are you at? There you go. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I appreciate it. And when Misty first sent me the text, she was like, hey, would you be interested in speaking at Beautiful Moms? I have to admit to you, I had a very disturbing flashback pop into my mind about the last time I spoke to moms. The last time I spoke to moms, I was invited to a mom's breakfast, and no one told any of those moms who the speaker was. So they're really excited, like this could be Beth Moore, this could be Joyce Meyer's going to get up there, Lisa Bevere, I mean, who's it going to be? And then I get up there. And I'm telling you, if you've never started a talk completely disappointing an entire audience, you really should start. It was one of the most just, from the very beginning. It was terrible. The whole time they're looking at me with the same face that I make when I'm forced to watch a musical. It was like that face of like, it's just not going well. My wife Carrie's out there. That's Carrie over there. Hi, Carrie. How you doing? She likes to be pointed out. I'm just kidding. She hates it. Anyway, but Carrie had this look on her face, kind of like now, that whole like, hey, you're on your own now. There's nothing I can do to help you kind of look on her face. So it was just one of those things. I tried my absolute best. I tried to encourage them. I tried to inspire them. I mean, I was like everything short of singing My Redeemer Lives, and then like everything I could do to try to get them going. And it went over like a fruitcake at Christmas. It was terrible. It was awful. Like, I was just like, I cannot believe this happened. Like, why didn't they even tell them so at least they wouldn't come? I mean, it was just bad. So I'm going to attempt to redeem myself today. I was excited. I was like, okay, this is a chance to redeem yourself from that last time. So, and this is a big challenge, as you can imagine, for somebody like me to write a message for moms. Because number one, I'm not a mom. I don't know if you noticed that. I was going to get a name tag that actually just said not a mom and just walk around and see if anybody... I'm not a mom, so I don't go through that experience. And then secondly, I did not have a great relationship with my own mom. So that made it even more difficult because I just started and I was like, man, I'm just going to Google something and call it a day because honestly, I got nothing. But I want to talk about that second part, my relationship with my own mom, and open up about that because it actually has, over time, that relationship has shown me the effect that a mom has on a child in more ways than even you guys imagine, more ways than you guys even read about, more ways than you guys read articles about on Facebook or whatever it is. There's so many different ways that mothers affect children, and it's taught me some of that. So I want you to see that effect. I want to talk about that, and then I want to kind of basically talk about how to harness that effect in a really good way for your own kids. So I'll tell the story. I don't want to go into too many gory details because it's such a tricky thing to talk about, but I have always, since I was really, really little, I had a lot of trouble connecting with my mom. Now, she was always around. That wasn't a question. It's not like she was anywhere else, but I don't remember us playing together. I don't remember having those kind of moments that people have, on TV or whatever. I don't remember having a lot of those TV moments. And she was around a lot of things. I just remember when I was a kid, and it kind of took me a long time to articulate what this was, but I just remember that she had very strong reactions to what I would say or do. So what I learned to do at a very little age was not to say or do a lot around her, because the reactions were typically very strong and stuff that I just didn't know how to deal with. So that was a weird distance that I didn't understand there as a kid, and then that got further amplified when two things happened. In the early 90s, or probably even earlier than that, there was a short span of time where her brother died that she was close with, and then my parents divorced, all within this very short time. And she was very hurt, very angry, and that anger and things that kind of swelled up in her, very, very much just bitter about those things that had happened, that made our relationship even more difficult. The reactions were even stronger. It just seemed like, she was never really happy, those kind of things going on. So that made that relationship really hard. So now I'm going to fast forward 15 years. I'm going to talk about we're going really time travel here. 15 years, she's still not healthy emotionally. Pretty much the same place she was 15 years ago. And 15 years is a long, long time. And our relationship at that point, I got married. We started having our first kid. It became estranged. And I had talked to counselors and pastors about how to deal with my mom. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And unanimously, the advice was, you need to tell her that if she chooses to get help, you guys can work this out. But if she doesn't get help for the things that she's dealing with, you guys are at a standstill. So I had that conversation with her. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. It did not go over well, as you might imagine. It just, she wasn't like, that sounds great. That's cool. I'll call you tomorrow. None of that happened, okay? It was just a difficult conversation to have. So we did not talk or see each other for 6 years until one day she was near where I worked. And I think the church that I was at was probably 45 minutes to an hour from where I kind of grew up and at this point in my life. And she decided she was in town, and she was like, I'm going to come find him for whatever reason. So I'm at a coffee shop one day, and lo and behold, my mom walks in, which scared me to death, right? Because I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is how Datelines start, right here. I was like, this is not good. And she came in, and someone at my work had told her where I was, and I'm just like, thanks for that, bro. What a buddy you are. And so, but they didn't know, so she found me, and we had let me just say, the conversation got heated. It got loud. We were asked to leave the coffee shop kind of a thing. If you've never been asked to leave a coffee shop, that's a pretty weird experience. I mean, I've been asked to leave a lot of things, but a coffee shop, you got to work pretty hard to get kicked out of one of those. So, but so we're out on the porches thing, and the conversation it was very heated, but it got very honest. And honestly, it was a conversation that we needed to have, because it was actually kind of a turning point for me in my relationship with her. As if it wasn't already kind of stretched out and distant enough, there were some answers to some questions that happened that I long had always wondered. And what she told me, because I think there was just a moment where she was like, you just don't get it. Let me explain this to you, of why our relationship is this way. And she told me, she's like, look, I never wanted a kid. I never wanted a child, and then you happened. You weren't planned, okay? And I tried the motherhood thing. I really did. I gave it my absolute best. But ultimately, it was never what I wanted. And I can't make something happen that's not ever going to happen. So when she told me that, I was like, man, my Mother's Day card is going to be really super weird for you this year. And I was like, but I honestly didn't know what to say. I was like, wow. But ultimately, it was hard to hear, because no one wants to be called an accident, right, by your own mom, typically not where that comes from. And also, you can laugh. It's totally okay. Trust me. I'm okay. Some of you are like, I don't know where to laugh or to what. So you don't want your mom to call you an accident, but also, that when she says things like, this is not what I wanted, she's talking about you, right? I mean, I'm not dumb. I'm going, you're not what I wanted. So I'm sitting there looking at this, having this conversation, and it brought clarity. It was kind of a weird thing. You would think it would be devastating. But these were things I've been wanting to hear her say for a long time, not particularly that way, but I just wanted answers. Why is this way? Why is this? Why are you like this? I don't understand. I thought this was normal until I started meeting other kids and meeting their moms, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do, right? And so it kind of brought this clarity, and I had to process a lot sitting. So while I'm talking to her, all these things start hitting me at once. And I start realizing that she never, when I told her, just get help and we can reconnect, she never got help to reconnect because she doesn't want to. And that was kind of a weird thing to hit. Like, you really don't want to connect? Like, really? And so I started thinking about, I've been imagining this phone call that's going to happen one day where God's gotten a hold of her life. She went to Fearless or something happened like that, and like just everything happened. And I just was thinking there was just going to be this moment where I'm going to get this phone call, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I want to connect. I want to make things right, whatever. And I just realized I'm sitting there, and this is 2010 when this happened. And I'm sitting there thinking there's like a 99.99% chance of this never happening because this is not even on her radar. This is not something she's thinking about every day. This is not even in the same ballpark. And when something's not, what I thought was there, I guess wasn't there. And so you realize you kind of have to just sit there and accept that and realize I can't make a person feel a certain way. I feel like the old Bonnie Raitt song, like, I can't make you love me, whatever. So but I didn't sing that because we probably wouldn't gotten kicked off again, the porch. But anyway, I just sat there and I didn't know what to do, and I prayed and I said, okay, God, like, these are the answers I've been praying for, but yikes, not the answers I wanted. I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm completely overwhelmed in this moment. And God just starts speaking to me, and I just forgave her. I said, I just want you to know, I forgive you 100%, and I completely understand, and it is 100% okay. And even though in my mind, I'm like, this is not okay, in my mind. But I just had to say it, like, I do forgive you, and I just want you to know that. I mean, I'm talking like, look in the eyes, like, I mean it. Don't ever think that I don't forgive you. I really do forgive you. I understand. And we just parted ways at that moment. And so at that point, I come home, and everyone's like, so we heard your mom found you. It's like one of those moments, and like, and what happened. And I just realized I got a lot of processing to do. I got to process all this because part of me, in a weird way, was glad that I heard all that because it answered questions. But then the other part of me just realized, like, you have to grieve something that is never going to happen. It's just never been there from the get-go. It is not going to happen. You can't do enough jumping jacks. You can't do enough praying on the roof. There's nothing, no hoops you can jump through to ever make this relationship what it needs to be. And so I had to accept that and be honest about how it's affected me over time. So one of the things that I noticed, again, was my mom and I struggled with closeness. And so from a very early age, I learned how to deal with things alone. In fact, that's how I preferred to deal with things, was just deal with things alone, because I don't want to deal with the emotion and all that. I don't want to go through all that. So I didn't let her into whatever was going on. She'd ask me all the time, sometimes, how's things going at school? And I'd be like, fine. I was like, I'm not telling you nothing. I'm not telling you if I'm dating somebody. I'm not telling you anything. You don't need to know. Like, as far as I know, I'm just a person that comes home and eats meals and goes to my room. Like, I don't want you to know any of this stuff, because when I would tell her things, when I would open up, you pay for it. Every single time. And I can't tell you how many times I go back to my room and I'd slam the door and think, why do you tell her things? Like, stop telling people things. What's wrong with you? And I just would train myself from early on to not open up. That struggle with closeness, surprise, surprise, spreads itself out in your life. Because you don't just learn how to deal with it in that vital relationship, it starts to spread itself out. And that relationship started to fuel a reluctance in me early on to just let people in. And so over those years, as I was younger, I would connect with people. And maybe you know somebody like this, or maybe you're one of these people. I would connect with people at a certain level. But then beyond that certain level of my comfort, I had a really difficult time with that relationship. It was just hard for me to open up past that way. Now, thankfully, God has worked on me over time. And I've come a long way. God has used my marriage, and he's used friendships and things to help try to reverse that in my life. I mean, I'm probably still got some mileage to go on there for sure. But I've come a long way and understood the value of opening up and realized that, you can't go through life like this. You can't go through life trying to just deal with everything alone because you're afraid of all these different things. But as I did ministry, because I couldn't even get into ministry had I not dealt with some of these things, because I had to just believe God has got to be able to turn this thing around, right? Because you read those verses about, I can do anything through Christ who gives me strength. And I'm like, okay, Tebow, try this, because seriously, this is some really messed up mental stuff here that God's got to reverse over time. And I'm all about, making a touchdown or whatever, but I need a little bit more help, okay, than that. And so I thought about that. So as I went through years of ministry, believing that God can turn this around, trying to figure out the steps to take to keep getting better at this, I realized really quick I am not the only person who struggles with this at all. And the more people I started meeting, the more people I would sit down with, a large number of people had something happen in their lives that caused them to struggle with closeness, and it's still a struggle that they deal with today. And here's the thing that I understand, they don't want to deal with things alone, but they honestly don't know any other way. And so there's a challenge there. And it reminds me of a verse, Ecclesiastes 4:10. I'm just going to read it to you. And it says, if one falls, the other can help his friend get up. But how tragic it is for the one who is all alone when he falls. There is no one to help him get up. And I love that verse because it really points a really vivid picture of when you are dealing with things alone, it is tragic. Because there's no one there. You don't feel like anyone can help you. You don't honestly feel like, you should, get help or any of those kind of things. You kind of trap yourself. And what happens is instead of being close to other people, you just remain closed. And it is no way to live being closed like that. Trying to manage and manipulate everything before it gets to a certain level and then just boxing yourself in. It's not a way to live your life. On top of that a lot of people struggle with closeness, I've learned I did student ministry for 17 years, dealing with families and parents and things like that. There is a strong connection, and this is going to sound like, well, duh, but I want to emphasize this a bit. There's a strong connection between moms and a child's ability to connect with other people. Probably stronger than you would think. And a lot of this that we know because you guys have read all the books when you had a baby about, here's the things that you do, here's the things that you don't do. We know that starting from birth, a child's entire sense of self comes from the mom. And that, when you look at maternal attachment and bonding with your baby and all those kind of things, the reason why we do that is that sets the foundation of how that child is going to interact with others. So we know all that from the books, but what I want to tell you is while we know that type of thing exists then, we don't always pay attention to the fact that it still exists throughout the life of a child in new forms. The mom's ability to influence their ability to be close with other people. It translates all throughout their life. And so the reason, again, I believe that mothers, and here's your blank for those of you who are like, oh, blanks, on your outline. Mothers uniquely influence a child's ability to be close with others. Mothers uniquely influence. Unlike, there's no one else that can bring this level of influence. A child's ability to be close with others, because the very foundation of that ability itself, for them to ever have close friendships in their life, for them to ever open up and marry someone, for them to let anyone in, that ability, that foundation comes from mom. Now, dads can affect it. I believe that they absolutely can affect it. But I just believe that a mom has a greater influence on that child's ability to open up. So I want you to think about it this way. Your child's ability to ever experience closeness in their life, to have close friendships, relationships, intimate marriage, all those type of things, stems from your relationship with them. And while that sounds like, wow, Matt, thanks for the pressure. That's all I need. You had a bad mom, and now you're going to pressure me. I got it. No, let me tell you, it's not, I know it sounds like a heavy burden, but I actually believe that it's this. If you know and can use ways to help a child open up to develop that ability, it's an incredible gift that you give a child. It's not the pressure and the burden. You don't need to be rocking yourself to sleep about it, kind of thing. it's just one of those things that it's a gift you can give a child that they'll never even know that you developed, that you worked on in their life. And I believe that nurturing and developing that ability to open up comes in a lot of different ways. I'm going to tell you 3 really quick ones. But there's about 1 million. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I just want to kind of get your wheels turning here. And the first one I'll talk about is mom's a safe place to express frustration. Maybe some of you have a middle-aged girl, and you're like, well, obviously I don't know if I'm a safe place or not, but she does it anyway. You know what I mean? So if I can be candid with mom, I'm no longer afraid of being candid. And candidness and honesty are like a double-edged sword, right? There's all kinds of good and bad to honesty, because obviously you can be so honest that you damage somebody, because there's no honor and there's no respect intertwined in it. So you're just speaking the truth because it's fun, kind of thing, and then, blowing people out of the water while you do it. And I understand that sometimes our kids do that, but it's actually okay for them to be candid, because let me tell you, the reverse of it is worse, because honesty disappears if it's met with payback. Oh, please open up. Please open up and tell me. Just tell me what you're thinking. How could you? And and then you're sleeping on the couch, that kind of, and then it's like, well, that was it for that, kind of thing. Honesty, if it's met with payback, starts to vanish. And the thing is that kids learn from their moms whether or not candidness has consequences or not. Can I just tell you how much this frustrates me? Yes. Can you do it respectfully? Sure. We'll see how that goes, right? But the truth is that they have to have that ability to express frustration. Is mom a safe place to do that? Can I just be candid about how I feel and have that conversation? Secondly, is mom's a safe place to explore pain? Explore pain. When everything comes crashing down, the $1 million question is, who does the child go to? Who do they go to for comfort when everything crashes? Moms play an essential role in helping kids process pain. It really comes down to this, I believe. When somebody's vulnerable, they pay very close attention to how you react to their emotions, because that determines whether or not I do it again. So it's how I react to the breakup that this kid had, maybe older, like how the grieving a breakup. Or maybe it's a little boy and he didn't make the soccer team, and he's upset about that. Or maybe they got an F and they just want to vent. Maybe the kid lost a friend at school. Somebody betrayed them, or it was a loss. And they want to be able to just explore that pain and talk about that and be able to vent about that sometimes with a safe person. And so that's an important thing as well. Lastly, was trying to come up with a few to kind of give you some food for thought. Mom's a safe place to experience assurance. To experience assurance. You can spell it however you want, because it's your sheet of paper. You know what I'm saying? I saw a few of you looking up like, Assurance? 2 S's? That was good. Assurance. Assurance is simply this. I had to look it up because I was like, what is assurance anyway? We talk about, it's positive words intended to give confidence. That's what it really is. It's positive words intended. Now, this is not flattery. It's not flattery. It's not like, oh, yeah, you're fine. Or like that whole thing about just believe in yourself. Whatever, that stuff. That's not what that is. Just basically lying to them, right? So it's not flattering them. It's letting them know that you sincerely believe in them. I really do believe in you, warts and all. I see everything. I see what goes on, but I believe in you. I know you can do this. And I'm telling you, kids struggle, especially when they become teenagers, with self-doubt like you would not believe. I'm telling you, when they become of the middle school age, they're like the most insecure people on God's green earth. And the truth is that sometimes that boost of confidence is really what they need. Now, what's funny about it is when they get older, they act like they don't want to hear it. You're like, you're going to do fine. Oh, whatever, Mom. But I'm telling you, they act like they don't want to hear it. But then when the pressure's on, that's what they think about. They act like they don't want to hear it when they get older, but then they never forget it. So words, experience. Mom's got to be a place where I can experience an assurance, that confidence I need sometimes when that doubt kicks in. Now, I'm not saying you need to do all 3 of these things, I think for some of you, you're like, I'll do a fraction of one. That sounds really good. So, but whatever it is to kind of get your wheels turning in your relationship with your child, because you know your child. And you know where there's areas to go, you know what, that's one I can work on. I think I can help develop them a little bit in this. There's all kinds of ways to encourage a kid to open up, but here's the key. I believe moms are the key to opening a child's heart. I just believe there's something about that mother-child relationship that's different. And there is a key there that turns something deep inside a child. It reminds me of a verse that Paul is talking about. There's this kind of funny off-cuff conversation Paul's having in 1 Corinthians where he's just getting real with this church here in Corinth. And this is what he says. This is in your outline. It's 2 Corinthians 6. He says, "Oh, dear Corinthian friends, we've spoken honestly with you, and our hearts are open to you. There is no lack of love on our part, but you have withheld your love from us. And I'm asking you to respond as if you were my own children. Open your hearts to us." And the reason why you're like, what does that passage have to do with this? The reason why I bring it up is Paul's telling this church, he goes, listen, we've opened up with you, we've been honest with you, but you won't open up to us. You won't be real and get real with us. And he says, I need you to go back and think, I want you to open up to us like a child opens up to a parent. And what he's pointing out there is that parent-child relationship is that foundation for opening up, for the heart being able to open up and develop closeness. If a child can open up and experience closeness with mom, I sincerely believe that they will open up and experience closeness with other people throughout their lives. But I want to say this. If they can't, and the physical needs are met, but the emotional needs are kind of scrambled, the problem is that a very difficult emotional challenge for that kid is created. Something that, again, I'm one of those people, it takes a long time to not only understand it, but to even try to overcome it. It reminds me of a famous psychology experiment. You remember those psychology experiments you heard about in high school, and you're like, boy, they couldn't do that now. That's so illegal. But it was so cool. You know, like how they did, like stuff they did, like lock people into prison for 4 months and beat them. And then, they'd be like, people are crazy when you do that. And you're like, really? And so it's like, all those kind of experiments. Well, there was one I remember hearing about, and I looked it back up, but it was a psychology experiment by Harry Harlow. And he was trying to study the nature of love. And what he did is he had 2 groups of baby monkeys, the cutest little adorable baby monkeys you've ever seen. And one group had a mother surrogate. So it was like this wire mannequin that looked kind of like a monkey, but it was wrapped in warm cloth. And that group of monkeys loved that mother surrogate. They would hold it and love it because it was soft and they make contact with it. The other group of monkeys had a wire surrogate mom that was just bare wire. There was no cloth. And the little monkeys that had that mom, they had a little struggle connecting with that mom. So then they did this experiment where they brought in this little toy, wind-up toy, and here's where it is. So they brought this toy, and they frightened the monkeys on purpose to see where they would go and what they would do. And so this little cute little monkey right here, they're kind of ugly but kind of cute. I can't decide. Anyway, so that's the cloth. That's the actual cloth mom. And so every time they would scare the monkeys, they would run. The cloth mom monkeys would run to the mom, and they would get on top of it and hold it. The other problem was when this is the crazy thing, and I couldn't believe this. The wire mom monkeys, when they would scare them, they would never run to the mom at all. They would cower in the corner, or they would lay on the floor and rock themselves. And let's go adopt them. It was okay. The thing is, and so it's fascinating when you actually watch of just them kind of just rocking themselves. And the thing is right there. The mother surrogate is right there. And what was interesting is what they learned is when you cannot feel closeness, you will deal with everything alone. And what's interesting, again, is some of us had wire mothers. That's just the way that it was. There was no, it's a lottery. Look, you got what you drew here, okay? And in all honesty, God's going to use that in whatever way. I mean, again, God doesn't make mistakes. I don't believe that he does. But some of you, that's the situation that you had They weren't evil mothers. They weren't malicious mothers. None of that. It was hard to connect with them. It was like that monkey reaching in, trying to figure out these wires and going, I don't feel comfort from that. I don't know what is this? You didn't feel connection with them. And that lack of closeness still echoes in you today. I just want to remind you, if you're a person who's been in that situation, God can turn anything around. That's the great thing about God. God can give you so much that he can allow you to give what you didn't receive. And I think that's one of the most incredible things about redemption and restoration, is God can restore everything that you've lost to the point where you can give what you didn't have. Without God, you're just going to rehearse things that have happened to you over and over again. But with God, I believe you can reverse what's happened to you and bring restoration to what was lost. But for all moms, the truth is you uniquely influence their ability to connect. Your child will open up to others and develop closeness with others because they opened up with you and developed that closeness with you. And the thing is that as a mom, you're paying attention to those things and going, how can I keep turning this key to open this kid's heart? And the truth is, the best way to do it, I believe, is to open yourself up to God, because you're going to need all the help you can get to do that. But I just want you to pray, think about that in your discussion group. I also have a book I recommend there, a great book called Grace-Based Parenting by Tim Kimmel. It's actually my favorite parenting book. It's my only one I like. Out of the 200 that my wife made me read. It's the only one I like. But anyway, but in all honesty, keep praying, thinking about, again, it sounds like, well, Matt, it's kind of open-ended. It is open-ended because your child is unique. But just understand that you have unique influence over the heart of that child and their ability to be close with other people. So I just pray that your relationship with them will continue to get closer. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this time. I really hope this was better than the last time I spoke to a mom, but we'll see what happens. But Father, thank you for these opportunities. Thank you for these women who come, and they don't have time for this. I know that. Their schedules are crazy. Kids are everywhere going. It's just a lot going on, but they make time to be here to not only get encouragement, but encourage other people. Because we just can't do this alone. And parenting is incredibly hard to do. And God, we need your grace and your strength and your wisdom every single day. And God, help us not to put pressure on ourselves, but help us to be aware of what's going on. God, speak into us. Give every mom a way that they can help keep turning that key in that kid's heart so that they can develop close relationships that will benefit them and inspire them and encourage them for the rest of their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks, man.